Hello and welcome to our live event on teaching English to refugees and displaced learners. I'm Shirin and I'll be your host today. And today we have two guests, and together we will focus on some practical, adaptable ways to teach English in difficult circumstances. And hello, Haneen, we have two guests, but our guest will join. I think Ahmed has just lost connection. So, before I introduce our guest, thank you very much for the questions and comments you've already shared. And please keep them coming during the live event as well. And we'll do our best to address as many of them as possible before during the discussion. So I'd like to introduce our guest now. Haneen Jadallah is a Palestinian UK-based educator, teacher trainer, and a PhD student at the University of Warwick, UK. She has a special interest and expertise in drama and English language learning, as well as intercultural online theater. And she's passionate about connecting young people in Palestine. Hello, hi, Haneen. Hi, welcome. And yes, I was just introducing you. So she's also passionate about connecting young people in Palestine with their peers around the world through intercultural linkups and online theater. And Dr. Ahmed Kamal Junina is an assistant professor of applied linguistics and the head of English department at Al-Aqsa University in Gaza, Palestine. He's also a fellow at the Center for Comparative and International Research in Education at the University of Bristol in the UK. And Ahmed also is a project lead for Resilient Voices, a digital storytelling initiative supported by the British Council in Palestine. So, welcome, Haneen and Ahmed. It's great to have you with us today.
Thank you.
So, you bring rich experiences from drama based English language learning, applied linguistics, teacher education, digital storytelling, online theater, and more. And we are really looking forward to learning how those creative approaches can support learning at very difficult contexts. And we have received really very nice comments and questions. And I would like to begin with our first question. From your experience, what do the difficult circumstances actually look like for teachers and for learners? Would you like to start, Haneen?
Thank you, Shidan. I was teaching in Gaza for 9 years before I came to the UK, and difficult circumstances would involve large classes, big numbers of students, very low resource environment, learners who are coming from refugee backgrounds with a lot of challenging context, the whole fragile environment in Gaza that involves very little opportunities for learners and teachers to be in contact with international audience or international opportunities. And also when learners are placed and teachers are placed in very challenging contexts, sometimes it feels meaningless to learn a different language that they are not going to speak or meet somebody who speaks it. So there comes our roles as teachers to voice this to the world.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Thank you so much, Haneen. Yes, you have shared so many challenges around difficult circumstances. What about you, Ahmed? Would you like to add anything? Okay, Ahmed will come back to us, I think. So, yes, I mean, we will come back to Ahmed to listen to his
Hi, Shane, can you
insights.
hear
But
me?
yes, building on what you have just shared with us, Haneen, about the challenges teachers and learners face. You mentioned that they find it, maybe they have motivation issues around English, or maybe asking why. I mean, maybe they don't really see the purpose, or maybe the opposite. Ahmed, what about your perspective? Your ideas from your experience, what do difficult circumstances actually look like for you, for teachers and learners?
Sure. Thanks, Shireen, for the opportunity. I just wanted to add to what Haneen has just mentioned regarding difficult circumstances. I agree with what Haneen said regarding the difficulties that teachers and learners may come across. Probably the most difficult situation for teachers and learners is communication, not to see each other,
Mm.
not to be able to reach each other. And this was the situation that we all experienced as educators and learners in Gaza over the past 2 years or so. So it was really, I suppose that was the most challenging circumstance for us as educators, not being able to reach our students.
Mm.
I mean, we all appreciate the face-to-face experience in teaching and the chemistry that creates among teachers and their
Mhm.
students. That
Okay.
was really a difficult circumstance. That
Okay.
was really
So
tricky for us not to
we
be
were
able
able
to reach
to
our
hear
students
that part, right?
and to
So
continue
the
teaching online,
to
given
lose
the
connection,
difficulties
Dr.
and the
Ahmed
circumstances, the
mentioned.
difficulties in connectivity, power supply. Those are difficult circumstances. But honestly, that feeling that I don't know what happened to my students, they are displaced, teachers are displaced, that feeling that you don't know whether they're still there, they're still alive or not, that was the most difficult.
And yeah, Haneen mentioned previously also about the challenges learners and teachers and learners face. When circumstances are extremely challenging, you were trying to do so many activities with them. How important is learning English here? I mean, that was also one of the questions one of our community members asked. Is the learning of English a strategic necessity for refugees and displaced people? What role does English play for learners in these situations?
Thank you, Shidan. That's a very significant question that we are normally asked when we talk about teaching and refugees and displaced, communities. So I think it's very important. And with Palestinian learners, it was and it is and it will be very very important to learn English because it helps them to amplify their voices and to reach out to the world, to teach the world that they are, creative bodies. They're not shrink to trauma and just victimizing their stories. They are creative human beings and they are having a lot to share with the world. I think the voice of the learners when we are teaching refugees and displaced people is very, very important because they want to express themselves in so many ways. They want to write stories, they want to talk about their experiences, they want to talk about their backgrounds. And because English is spoken widely around the world, here comes the importance of amplifying their voices and supporting them with opportunities to learn English. But how do we teach English, and what are the features of our pedagogic um, aspects in the classroom is the significant pedagogic aspect of teaching English to refugees and displaced people.
Mhm. Thank you. Thank you so much, Haneen. Ahmed, we were able to hear you. So you mentioned that the most difficult part, the most difficult aspect of working with refugees and displaced learners is not the ability of not being able to connect with them. That's connection. I mean, not maybe knowing where and how your students are. But then we also now move to the necessity for English for refugees and displaced learners. From your experience, what role does English play for learners in these situations? Would you like to add anything
Yes,
to Haneen?
absolutely. I also agree with what Haneen said. I mean, it's a very important tool, and we believe that
Okay,
using it.
so we will have Ahmed back hopefully. And I'd also like to welcome everyone who are watching us and writing in the chat. So we have some comments. Yes, as you say, So our community members also um, supporting the same ideas. So they want to be heard, valued, and it's an international, prestigious international language. It's a tool for communication, basically, right? To communicate with people around the world and for them to express themselves in different ways. Um, Thank you. So another community member says the most difficult challenge is when you have good activities for your learners, but you have no teaching and learning resources to support your teaching. So, yes, I mean, that leads us maybe nicely to think more about the learning environment itself, not just the subject we teach. So, you have a lot of experience with online theater and drama, and Dr. Ahmed also with digital storytelling. So, in those environment, how can you create safe spaces for learning when physical conditions are very challenging? Could you give us maybe some examples from the projects you have done? How can we create safe spaces first of all for learning? Okay, so we will hopefully have Dr. Ahmed back. Um, Yes, he mentioned trauma informed pedagogy and reducing the risk and enabling them, and so making sure that they can actually access, or maybe to use. He was maybe talking about the tools that learners have access and using those tools to increase this engagement and the safe
I felt
space.
that
I mean,
that
is there
WhatsApp
anything
room
else?
was really useful because it doesn't require that stable internet connection, and it is really low bandwidth
Hmm,
platform. So it in such a way that does not require so much effort. I mean, they can just manage accessing WhatsApp from wherever they want using their smartphone, needing to go to an internet cafe or a public place or an internet hub that provides access to internet, which was risky, which was dangerous. That's why I felt asking them to stay wherever they are, whenever they want to access the classroom on WhatsApp. Felt that it was a safe environment for all of them. And
thank you. So important. Yes. Physically safe and also in terms of bandwidth, so they should be able to access. Thank you. Thanks so much, Dr. Ahmed. And yes, what about you, Haneen? Anything you would like to add? Yes.
Thank you. Yeah, so I want to back up what Dr. Ahmed was saying about choosing low tech platforms like WhatsApp, or in my case, I'm using Zoom to help learners to create their own materials. So if you don't have, materials in the classroom, how about supporting learners to create their own materials? So, for example, in the British Council funded project Voices Across Worlds, we connected learners from Palestine, Gaza, and the West Bank, Malaysia, Cameroon, Greece, and one refugee in the UK. And they were writing their personal stories and performing their personal stories to each other. So that's the kind of ground we relied on in that project. So if you lack teaching materials, how about supporting the learners to create, to be producers? And I think lately we have witnessed a lot of literature coming out of Gaza, in terms of writing stories, diaries, poems, to reflect on the experiences and express themselves. And that's very, very important because with refugees, they come to the classroom with a very rich experience, and it's very important to give them that choice and to connect to their needs and to have consistency in how we teach them English, and to connect to what they wanted to do, what they wanted to talk about, and rely on this as our main ground to teach them the language, rather than forcing them to participate in a pre-prepared materials that might be not possible to be implemented, or don't make any sense to them.
That's a very nice approach, actually, giving them choice, and you mentioned choice and consistency, right? So
Yeah.
Yeah, and we should not perhaps, I mean, start with our assumptions, but get them create from their own experience, and not impose, but get
Exactly.
students produce. Thank you. That's really a very
Yes.
nice approach. And one of our community members also mentioned that they use flipped classroom teaching approach when
Yeah.
they don't get the resources they need.
Yeah.
So yes, I mean, this is also might be an effective.
I think this is a very good approach. Yeah, I've used it in my context. I've flipped classes, send the materials in advance, ask my students to read the materials, to go through the material, and write down any questions or any ideas, PDF, compressed files, or voice notes from WhatsApp, so that at least they can play the files or access the files. And after that, we'd go through the materials together using voice notes. Sometimes, if we can, using short videos, recorded videos. If connectivity allows, probably a Zoom call to go through the material together if they have any questions. So flipping class really, really worked.
Mhm. Thank you, Ahmed. Definitely. So yes, I mean using all the resources as much as possible, and I think teachers and learners are the most important resource here, and using existing resources creatively in different ways. Also, one of our community members mentioned inclusive pedagogy and adapting the curriculum into varied activities that suit their learning styles, moods, can be a good way to create a safe environment. Thank you. Thank you so much for your comments and questions as well. So, now we have actually started talking about the resources, and yes, more specifically, how do you help learners practice English without access to teaching resources? So you already mentioned that you use those platforms. Um, you could you also tell us about your experience more specifically with online theater, with drama, with digital storytelling? How do you use those tools and techniques in teaching English to practice English? So yes, we will have hopefully Haneen and Ahmed back. Let's wait. And in the meantime, please write. Ahmed, let me repeat the question. So can you tell us about your experience with learners with digital storytelling? How do you help them practice English without access to teaching resources? So yeah, could you tell us more about the projects you've done?
Yeah, I think um, the experience we've gone through over the past 2 years showed, if it showed something meaningful, I think it showed that um, a meaningful learning experience for learners doesn't really require resources or doesn't really require perfect buildings or campuses or tools or equipment. It felt that using whatever we had really supported our students when it comes to practicing English, learning English. So it felt that the most important element was, as you said, Shireen, the student and the teacher. If they are there and communication takes place in whatever way they utilize, learning takes place. Learning happens as long as you um, make sure that communication is consistent, the teacher is patient. Using voice notes, as I said, is possible, and it doesn't require too much effort from the student and from the teacher. Using those low bandwidth platforms helps, ensuring that students have access to the materials offline. I mean, even if you send them a PDF file, they can access offline at their own pace. It really helps. Sending them a very short clip that they can download. And I honestly, I used to compress those files in order to reduce the size of the file so they can download and watch in their free time. This ensures that they access material. And these are, we're talking about materials that are really simple. not box, not websites that require steady internet connection, which is not the case in Gaza. I mean, we struggle with internet as teachers, let alone students who live in tent. What is key here is that human connection, that human communication, and in encouraging them to use oral skills by telling stories, by sharing their experiences, by practicing English through telling stories. And this is the project that we've been working on with the British Council in Palestine. And I would love to extend my thanks to the team of the British Council in Palestine for their really generous support. So it's a project on, and it has been really promising. I mean, the experiences of the students are being told, narrated with the word using English. Um, their English skills and confidence are improving. And I mean, yeah, we talked about trauma informed education. When we tell a story, the trauma that we feel from the experience we've gone through, hopefully. I mean, our state of mind improve when we tell stories. I've read a saying which says, the heaviest story is the one that you have untold within you. Once you tell a story within you, it feels that you feel much better. You share that, you share that cognitive or emotional load that you have. So once you tell it with others, you feel much better. So yeah, that's our experience with our students.
Yes, so what you have just said is so meaningful, Ahmed. Thank you so much. So many important messages it involves. There is one question from our community members. So, if those stories, for example, about digital literacy, if those stories requires some digital literacy skills, how do you equip your learners then if they have to use some digital tools to produce the story? Um, how do you help them in producing a story in digital formats?
Yeah, I mean, I work with a group of trainers in this
Do you
particular
think
project.
digital literacy can be a problem more specifically?
Yeah,
Okay, hopefully.
digital tools, and this is a very good question because digital literacy might be a challenge, might be an obstacle, but with like training students step by step, gradually on how to navigate those tools and how to use them in order to utilize it helps learners. So we've conducted input sessions training students on how to narrate a story using voice and recording podcasts or editing a very short video or recording a video, a story
Okay, hopefully Ahmed will be
a video
back.
form,
So, thank
or
you for
writing a
this
blog.
question. So,
And
as far
also
as
we've trained them
I
on
could
how
hear, so
to
they are
use, for
training
example,
the
infographics in stories or
students.
photos or visuals in general.
Okay,
Um, so yeah, I'm not sure if you can hear me, Shireen, but as I said, it's about training students gradually on those tools and platforms by showing them how to use, demonstrating the use of those platforms and tools. I think
okay.
it really
So
helps.
I cannot hear Ahmed.
It helps learners and students. Um, we've demonstrated in the sessions how to use, for example, voice recording and how to edit voice recording, how to ensure that your narrative reaches your audience and you target a particular audience, how to make sure that the language that you use, the visuals that you use, um, meet the expectations of your audience and your readers, and at the same time you, they convey what you intend to say, your intended message in the story.
Okay.
So it has been a really meaningful
So thank you, everyone. Well, and adaptable ways to teach English in difficult circumstances, and drawing on the expertise of Haneen Jadallah and Dr. Ahmed, Kamal, Junina. And the discussion highlighted mainly um, the difficulties of teaching large classes. Hi, Ahmed. I lost you and then I lost connection. But I could hear that last words that you were training learners on some digital tools as a team. So if you can repeat that part once again, if you can hear me. Okay, so we have connection issues, unfortunately, but that also shows us how challenging it can be in digital environments. Ahmed, can you hear me okay?
Now I can hear you. Yes.
Okay, so you were telling us about the training. You were training teachers, right, and learners, perhaps, right? So on how to
Students, yeah.
use those tools. Mhm. So yes, this is one of the most important steps to make sure, right, they have access, but also they know how to use these tools to express themselves. And Haneen, from your experience, you were also using online theater, right? Can you tell us how you use those tools? I mean, um, from your experience, how do you help learners practice English without access to teaching resources by using learners and teachers as a resource? I mean, they are the biggest resource. How did you do all those online theaters with them? Maybe if you can tell us about it.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes.
Okay, apologies for the connection interruption. So, I follow a pedagogic process. So, normally we start by doing orientation session for teachers and learners in both places on Zoom. And then we ask learners, we do a lot of activities online on Zoom to help learners generate their personal stories because they have a wide range of topics they wanted to talk about. So, again, it's the choice, it's what they wanted to do, not what us as teachers want them to talk about. And then we create a shared folder, a shared document as well, for these stories to be shared in all the places that we are working on. So, for example, if we're working with Palestine and, say, Cameroon, we create short folders for learners in both places to access so they can read each other personal stories. And then they go away at a time where the flexibility is key when you work with displaced learners or refugees. They choose a personal story to work on as group, and then they come to the session again with us as teachers to convert the story into a script. And then once they started their choice of story from the other location, so Palestinian learners choose a story from Cameroon, for instance, and Cameroonian learners choose a story from Palestine. So this swapping is very important for interculturality and for feeling that you are not alone and for feeling that there's somebody is listening to you. And then the stories and scripts are ready to rehearse. We follow a sort of process of rehearsals on Zoom. It takes around 8 to 10 sessions to script and perform a play on Zoom, and then we have the productions available. We have actually some examples of plays that have been produced. I am happy to share the link afterwards if you are interested in looking at some of these examples.
Thank you. Well, that would be really great. So, yeah, important for them to have that space to express themselves and to get the support they need. Um, Thank you so much, Anine. A comment from our community members. I would advise my colleagues teaching under-resourced classrooms to improvise materials whenever possible and encourage students to create their own learning resources. Yes, definitely. And this approach not only compensates for the lack of materials, but also actively involves learners in the learning process. So, thank you for your comment. Yes, totally agree. So, one last tip from you, Haneen, and Dr. Ahmed, if you can hear us, for new teachers who are about to teach, maybe, or who is teaching in such difficult contexts. Yes, for new teachers, what tips would you give?
I think I am going to say to every new teacher who's entering this space, it's a very, very creative space. It's unpredictable, it's very messy, it's challenging, but a lot of creative voices are going to come out of your teaching experiences. So I am always saying that to the teachers I work with in my training sessions, and I say, we as teachers, as educators who are working with refugees and displaced learners, I come from a refugee background myself. We are holding a candle, and this candle is lit in a very dark path. And by holding this candle, we're not only lightening this road to the students who are coming from difficult circumstances, it's also teaching us about ourselves, our humanity. So slow down and listen to their voices, and start your journey from there.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So valuable for last words. I mean, this simple analogies. Thank you so much, I mean, to remember and maybe, yes, not feel restrained by those constraints, but take this challenge and take it as an opportunity to learn from our learners as well. And Dr. Ahmed, my question was, what final tip advice would you give to new teachers who are teaching in difficult um, contexts, or maybe who are about to teach? Keywords that I have learned from you today. So first of all, choice is important. Flexibility is important, and consistency and accessibility. So we want to make sure they have access, they have this safety is important. We need to make sure they are in a safe environment, and this communication creates that trust and belonging. And with that creativity, and by giving them choice and human connection, and through the teacher's patience, right, and resilience, and uh, this sustainability helps people in those contexts. So, thank you once again uh, for sharing your experience in very difficult network issues. Even with those, you were able to communicate your messages. So, thank you once again. And let me check with Dr. Ahmed once again if he can hear us.
But I was going to say that the advice for you for teachers of English or ELT or EFL in crisis context and in context where students are refugees or displaced, my advice is that trust their resilience and strength. You will find it. You will find an extraordinary level of resilience and strength among your learners and among your students. Just trust this feeling. Encourage them to share their voices. Listen to them. Be patient with them. It's more about the human experience than the content. It's your role to shift them from teaching content to giving hope, to ensure continuity, to ensure communication, and encourage them for a better future. That's what I wanted to say.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Ahmed and
Thank you.
Haneen, for sharing your insights. So it's been really a lovely session with so much hope and inspiration for future. We hope we inspired some teachers. So we would look forward to hearing more about the stories that you create. So hope to see you in our future sessions. And thank you everyone for sharing your comments and questions. And yes, looking forward to hearing more about your projects in the future. Bye everyone.
Thank you so much, Shada. Thanks. Bye.
How to use guides on Facebook. Open the menu at the top of the British Council Courses for Teachers group on Facebook. Then tap on Guides. Here are guides. In a guide, you'll find discussion posts, videos, resources and information for a specific course. Guides for current courses are near the top. Look further down to see guides for all our courses. Tap See all posts to open a guide. Interact with posts as usual, tapping to comment, open videos and links or to see more text. After contributing to a discussion, watching a video, or downloading a resource, record your progress by marking posts as done. Just tap the Done button under the post and see the status change. This helps you to see all the posts connected to your course, so you don't miss anything. Check the guide for your course regularly.